sex. It is such a big deal in our world today that everything is almost about sex. You're selling a video, music videos, you're projecting sexuality, furniture, you're projecting sexuality, clothing lines, you're projecting sexuality. And as a Christian, I think it's very important, especially to the young people who have decided to live their life for Jesus. I think it's important that we know who created it and what was its purpose, so that we don't abuse it. Like it is said, when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. So today, that's what I want to address. It's important that young people should know. So I don't think it's okay to just say, oh, don't have sex until you're married, don't have sex until you're married. It took me by surprise the day I realized that God actually created sex. And I think it did that because there's such a negative aura around it as a topic. So I guess somewhere in my head, I just thought, if this thing is so bad, then surely it wasn't God who created it. So imagine my greatest shock when I realized, the day I realized, I think somebody said it to me or I heard it in a preaching, I can't remember, that it was actually created by God. And like everything created by God, it has a purpose. Wow, blew my mind. And like everything else, if you do it out of time and out of purpose, then you expose yourself to certain things that God wouldn't want you to be exposed to. So for example, if you're having sex with someone that you're not married to, you have to deal with the emotional baggage of, does he or she really love me? Is it all about the sex? Will they leave me if I stop? Did I do it good enough? Is it enough to keep them? And all the other many thoughts that can plague the mind. Like, this is how it works in my mind. So as usual, I'm talking from my experience, and I realize that for some people it might be totally different. But sweetheart, why would you do that to yourself, male or female? You deserve so much better. And a lot of people like to say, oh, God doesn't want you to enjoy yourself, God doesn't want you to be pleasurable, that's why he put it in the Bible that you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And I think it comes from of having a perspective that sees God as a taskmaster, because a taskmaster, everything he or she asks you to do is out of a selfish desire. It is not for your good in any way. So I think sometimes we look at God like that, and it clouds our judgments or our perspective when we see the things that he asks us not to do. I'll give you an example. In the Old Testament somewhere, when women were on their monthly flow, they were not allowed to be in the midst of other people, they were not allowed in the congregation, they had to sit outside the gate and blah, blah, blah. And I just thought to myself, Father, that is so unfair. Why would you perpetuate an action that allows the man to think that he's better than the woman in any way, shape, or form? And I was so self-righteously angry. That is not good. What do you mean? Because she's on her monthly flow, she shouldn't come into the crowd. And one day I was talking to somebody about it who's much older, and she gave me her example, and she said, sometimes these things, God does it out of love. And I said, how? How can it be love? How can that show love? And she gave me her personal experience of when she had her third child. The pregnancy was a bit difficult, and her husband was there, and she had 2 other toddlers, almost young children to look after. And she said she didn't have any conversation with the doctor, but the doctor looked at her, looked at the husband, looked at the fact that she had 2 other small children, and told her that for complete healing, she needed, I think, 7 days bed rest. And told the husband, actually, not her, told the husband. And she said when she got home for that 7 days, he was handling everything. She didn't have to lift a finger. And then she started to understand it in a different light, that if not that the doctor had told her husband that, he would have been expecting her to get home, and snap back into duties, cook here, clean here, tidy here, take care of the children there. But because the doctor said that, he allowed her to rest. So coming back to some of God's laws, the ones that we somehow think are for our bad, rather, God did them for our good. So coming back to the exact same law, is it possible that when God said a woman who's on a monthly flow should stay outside, it's because he knows, and if you're a woman watching, or if you have a woman in your life, you know that when our monthly flow comes around, sometimes we're very weak, sometimes we're very strong, sometimes we're very irritable, Sometimes we're very emotional. And in general, around that time, we're just not the most pleasant people to be around, if we can be honest with ourselves. So is it possible that God, who created us and knows that when that cycle is happening, there's so much going on in the woman's head that it is better that she just go and stay by herself until it is done and she's back to her normal senses? Is it not possible that he did that out of love? Love for both the woman and the people around. And so when she told me that story and I thought about it, and she said something, she said, when we begin to see God's laws from a place of love, it changes our perspectives. So if we come back to this whole issue of sex outside of marriage, if you're having sex with someone that you're not married to, I think, right, that you're exposed to so many unnecessary things that you may not have to deal with in a marriage. Number one, you definitely will not have to deal with the question that may plague your mind about, does he or she really love me? Number two, there are the sexually transmitted diseases that you shouldn't have to worry about, because obviously you and your spouse have done all the necessary medical checks to ensure that all is well and you can go ahead and enjoy each other's bodies. I just think that there's so many benefits to waiting until marriage. When we look at God's laws from a place of love, it helps our perspectives. We begin to understand that God is not being mean to us, he's not being unkind to us, he's not wanting us to enjoy ourselves. He's actually just thinking about us when he gave us these laws. That is it for today. As usual, thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.